So how do you create both healthy and delicious lunches every single day of the week when you're super busy and you don't have much time to cook? Well, it comes down to two main things. You need the right recipes and you need the perfect meal plan. And in today's video, I've taken care of both of those things for you and created a 2-week lunch meal plan with recipes that are super simple to make, designed to be frozen to extend for a full 2 weeks, and are completely customizable so you can mix and match every day and never get bored of your lunch again. And the best part is I'm giving you the entire lunch meal plan for free in a Google Doc below so you can follow along step by step. Now, if you live in the US, you've probably heard of the restaurant chain Cava. It's a fast casual spot known for Mediterranean style grain and salad bowls. And it's actually the inspiration behind this video because in my opinion, Mediterranean and Middle Eastern food is the perfect cuisine for lunch. It's fresh, it's not gonna weigh you down, it's super flavorful, and honestly, it's just something I personally can eat every day without getting very tired of it. Now, here's how this 2-week meal plan is gonna work. First, we're gonna prep 6 core components. These are gonna be your proteins and your veggies, which are really the heart of every meal. And we're gonna freeze half of each of these items so they can stretch across a full 2 weeks. Then each week you're gonna prep 1 fresh grain base, 1 fresh salad base, which are gonna act as the foundation that you're gonna pair with those proteins and veggies. So every day you can mix things up and build a completely different bowl or salad. And then each week you'll also prep 1 fresh all-purpose sauce that works either to top the bowls or as a dressing to really bring the lunches together. All right, so let's get right into prepping these proteins. And I did design this meal plan so you can pick a block of time, say on a Sunday or whenever you have time, and just prep all of these at once, so you only have to cook once. That's of course if you have time, you don't have to do it that way. So we'll set the oven at 450 degrees so we can keep that running for multiple recipes without having to change it or turn it on and off. And there's gonna be a bunch of crossover with the ingredients we're using and some of the equipment. And speaking of ingredients, since we're making Mediterranean food, we're gonna need some chickpeas, which are gonna work for 2 recipes. The first recipe is a crispy chickpea and cauliflower dish. And you can totally use canned chickpeas, you're just not gonna get the exact texture we want in this dish. So I like to pressure cook them right from their dry form. No need to even soak them overnight. I'll take my entire bag of chickpeas, I'll throw them right in the pressure cooker and I'll cover them with water. And I'm gonna cook them on a high pressure for 10 minutes. And this is exactly what we want to get some crispy chickpeas, but I've got a little smart meal prep moment here. I'm gonna leave the other half of the chickpeas in the pressure cooker. I'm gonna add just a little bit of baking soda and I'm gonna keep the pressure cooker uncovered and put it on a high saute mode or high cooking mode, whatever your pressure cooker has. And I'll let those bubble away for another 30 minutes, which we'll use for the base of a hummus coming right after this recipe. Now back to the cauliflower. I'm using 2 heads here. I'm gonna remove the core and I'll cut up the cauliflower into just tiny little bite-sized pieces. Then I'll spread it out evenly on a baking tray and I'll add back those al dente undercooked chickpeas and I'll drizzle over a good bit of olive oil. And for the seasoning, I'm keeping things really simple. Just some za'atar spice mix, which has all those classic Mediterranean flavors, and a little bit of sumac if you have it. It's totally optional. And I'll mix everything together right on the tray. And so it's not overcrowded, I'm just gonna split it up evenly onto 2 trays and I'll get that roasting in that 450 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until the cauliflower is golden and slightly charred. And because we undercooked the chickpeas earlier, they come out super crispy and crunchy, which is what we're going for. If you just use the canned stuff, they would slightly overcook and just get a little bit soft when you roast them, which wouldn't give you that wonderful texture when we add this mixture to a salad or a bowl later on. Now from here, I'm gonna keep half in the fridge for the week, and I'm gonna freeze the other half in this half-cup mold for week 2. And just like that, you've got your first protein locked in, and we're gonna move right into our core component number 2, which is our hummus. So we'll come back to those chickpeas, which have been bubbling away in the pressure cooker, and that baking soda has helped break them down even more, so they are now perfectly soft and ready to turn into some hummus. I'll strain them off, then I'll add them straight into my food processor. Then I'll go in with a clove of garlic, a few generous scoops of tahini, the juice of 1 lemon, some salt to season, and a bit of that aquafaba or chickpea cooking liquid, and I'll blend that up until it is completely smooth and creamy. Now, whenever I'm making hummus from scratch, I tend to end up with more than I can eat fresh for 1 week. But the good news is hummus actually freezes really well. So I'll portion out a container fresh for the week, and the rest will go into these half-cup freezer molds, which I will save for week 2. All right, moving on to our next protein option, which are pesto turkey burgers or turkey cubes, however you want to prepare them. And these are so delicious, and they're only 4 ingredients. Well, technically like 12 ingredients, but hear me out. So the key is getting yourself some good pesto. This is a batch I froze from last summer. I freeze a ton of garlic scape pesto, which is my absolute favorite version of pesto. But any store-bought basil pesto will work perfectly here as well. And to a bowl, I'm gonna add 2 packs of ground turkey. And this stuff is super lean. It's like 99% lean. So I'll mix the entire container of pesto, and all of that oil we emulsified into the pesto originally is not only gonna add a ton of flavor, but it's really gonna help keep this turkey nice and moist and juicy. Next, I'm gonna finely chop up some sun-dried tomatoes, and I'll throw those in for a little sweetness and a little texture. Then I'll finish this off with some breadcrumbs and salt and pepper to season, and I'll mix all of those flavors together. Now you could totally portion these into patties. You could cook them right away, or you could freeze them raw. Both options would work, but an even more convenient option, in my opinion, is using one of these silicone cube molds. I'm using a 1/2 cup mold, and I'll stuff all of the turkey meat in there. I'm gonna fill up 2 full molds, so I'll have 10 turkey burgers or turkey cubes, and I'll freeze those overnight. Then anytime over the next 2 weeks, whenever I wanna use one of these for a bowl or a salad, all I have to do is pop one in the air fryer at 380 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 12 minutes, and you have the most flavorful, super juicy turkey burgers that I can cut up and throw right into a bowl or a salad. All right, we're moving right into another protein option, which again is very simple and just packed with flavor. These are my mini feta meatballs. And first we're gonna prep our veggies, which is simply just dicing up a medium or small red onion, and also chop up some fresh parsley. Then in a bowl, I'm gonna add a couple pounds of some ground beef. You could also use ground lamb here. That would work wonderfully with these meatballs. Then I'll add in that onion and parsley. I'll grate in 1 clove of garlic. I'll sprinkle in some dried oregano, and I've got a nice fresh block of feta right here, which I'm gonna use for a few recipes, and I'll just crumble that in roughly. And to finish off the mixture, I'm gonna add 1 egg and some salt and pepper, and I'll mix everything together until it's fully combined. Now to keep things really easy, I'm using this 1 tablespoon ice cream scoop to portion out these meatballs onto my baking tray. And I couldn't quite fit all of them onto a tray, so I split them across 2, and they go right into that same preheated 450 degree oven for about 10 minutes. Now once these meatballs are done, you're gonna see they release a ton of juices and fat, and you do not wanna throw that flavor away. We're actually gonna take advantage of it moving right into the next recipe. So I'll package up half of those meatballs to have fresh for the week, and the other half, I'm gonna lay them nice and flat in a bag in my freezer so they don't stick together, and I'll save those for week 2. All right, now before we finish up these core components, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, and honestly, one of my favorite meal prep hacks, Kettle and Fire. One of the easiest ways to instantly add a ton of flavor to your meals while also boosting the nutrition. And for me, most of the box broths that are available on the market just don't use the ingredients or the techniques that make a quality broth. But Kettle and Fire uses organic, pasture-raised chicken and grass-fed, grass-finished beef bones, and they slow simmer them for over 14 hours. So you're getting real collagen, actual nutrients, and that deep, rich broth flavor that you would expect from homemade. And the best part is, it's just easy. You pick your flavor profile, tear open a carton, and add it to whatever you're making. Soups, stews, curries, pastas, even rice. I add this stuff to everything for an instant upgrade. And you guys know I love making homemade broth, but as a busy home cook, I don't always have the time to make it from scratch, which is why Kettle and Fire for me is a staple in my pantry. I always have a few cartons around ready to go. And if you want to try it out and upgrade your meal prep, you can use code word MikeG for 20% off your order using the link below. All right, moving into a veggie option with these Harissa sweet potato fries. And this is another super simple item. We're gonna be building pretty much all of the flavor from some Harissa paste, which is a Mediterranean chili paste loaded with so much good flavor. And I've got a big batch of sweet potatoes here, and I'm just gonna peel them up. But if you're short on time, you can just wash them and leave the skins on. Then I'll cut them into halves, cut those halves into quarters, and cut those quarters right in half so I have these bite-sized pieces. Now, instead of using a clean tray, I'm going right back to those trays with all of those delicious meatball dripping. This is gonna be all of the fat we need to roast these sweet potatoes, plus just extra flavor. And then all I'm gonna do is add a few big scoops of this harissa paste and a little bit of salt to season, and I'll mix everything up until it's evenly coated. I'll spread them across 2 trays so they can roast properly, and then I'll get them in that same 450-degree preheated oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, once you have your sweet potatoes, I'm gonna keep half in the fridge fresh for the week, and the other half, I'm just gonna take the tray and throw that right into the freezer. And then the next day when they're frozen, I'll scoop them up and place them in the bag so none of the sweet potatoes actually stick together, and we can just pull them out as we need them the following week and reheat them. All right, and just like that, we've made it to the final core component of this meal prep, which is a bit of a protein veggie combo. I'm calling these black-eyed pea corn fritters, and I start by soaking my dried beans overnight. Now, you can totally replace the black-eyed peas with other types of beans, but you can't use canned. You have to use dried beans if you want this recipe to work. The next day, once they're hydrated, I'll drain them off and I'll add them right to my food processor. Then I'll drain off 1 can of sweet corn and I'll add that in as well. And I wasn't originally planning on adding any greens to this dish, but I was walking through the garden and the first fresh spinach was coming in. It had to be picked, and I thought it would make a nice addition. So once the spinach was cleaned up, I blanched it in some boiling water for about a minute and I transferred it over to some cool water. Then I squeezed out as much excess moisture as I could and I threw that in the food processor. Then on top of that, I crumbled in some of that fresh feta. I added a small chopped red onion, a couple cloves of garlic, and a nice mix of some fresh herbs. I'm using some cilantro, parsley, and dill, but use whatever you have. Then I processed everything together until it was broken down and could hold together nicely. And instead of frying these fritters right away, what I do is I portion them right into my molds. I've got 2 different size silicone molds right here. Any size is really gonna work for these, because what we're gonna do once they're frozen is we'll remove them from the molds and we'll pop them in a bag. Then all we have to do to cook these is throw them in an air fryer, give them a little spray, and cook them at 370 degrees for about 10 minutes. All right, so we've rattled through all of those core components. They're prepped. Half of them are frozen for week 2. But to kick off week 1 of lunches, we still need that grain and salad base and that all-purpose sauce. And for the grain base, I'm making a yellow rice that's just a full-on dump in your rice cooker and set it for the best rice ever. So to the rice cooker pot, I'm gonna add some basmati rice. I'll add in some kettle and fire bone broth for that extra flavor, and I'll top that with water. I'll sprinkle in some golden raisins, which will add some nice sweetness, a few tablespoons of butter, and the key ingredient here is some saffron. And if you can't get your hands on some saffron, you can just use some turmeric for the same color. But just a teaspoon of saffron will give you the most beautiful yellow color and such a subtle floral flavor that really makes this rice so special. And I like to set my rice cooker to the harder rice cooking setting, just to ensure those grains don't actually overcook and I get this perfectly fluffy rice. That is some fluffy rice. Now, something I love to do pretty much every single week is pre-prepping my salad, which saves a ton of time. You make a nice salad base before the dressing goes on, and it should last you about a week. Now, for this first mix, I had 3 lonely heads of lettuce that actually made it through the winter in my greenhouse. And I've just been waiting for the perfect time to pick these little baby gems. And now is that perfect time. So I got those cleaned up, and to bulk things up and to create a nice mix of flavors and textures, I'm gonna chop up some kale. I also have a small head of radicchio, and I'll give those baby gems just a rough chop to make them more bite-sized. Then on top of the leaves, I'm chopping up some cucumbers, some sugar snap peas, and some cherry tomatoes to give me more of a comprehensive mix. And I'm gonna stuff that in a larger food container with 1 paper towel on the bottom of the greens and 1 paper towel on the top to absorb any of that extra moisture, which is gonna ensure those greens stay fresher and last you throughout the entire week. Now, before we start bringing some lunches together, we need that perfect week 1 all-purpose sauce. And let me tell you, this herby tahini yogurt feta sauce is unbelievable. It's really simple to make. Just please try it and report back to me. To a blender, or you could use a food processor as well, I'm gonna add in my yogurt, some fresh feta, a scoop of tahini, plus a little bit of that oil, some fresh herbs. I'm using the trio of mint, parsley, and dill, the juice of 2 lemons, salt and pepper to season, and I'll blend that all together while emulsifying in some olive oil to make that nice and thick and creamy. So what's great about this meal plan is you can mix and match and get super creative. Some days I would make a nice rice bowl, picking a few of those core components. Other days I would air fry some of those proteins and add it to a greens base for a hearty salad. And I would just slightly shift things up each day to keep it fresh, and fresh it was, my friends. All right, so it is week 2, and I am still not over these flavors. I'm not sick of them at all. That's why I love this type of cuisine. It seems to never get old. It's the perfect lunch, and I've got all those 6 frozen core elements ready to go. But of course, we need a new grain and salad base, and we need a new sauce. Now for the grain base, this is another simple dump in a rice cooker and get something delicious on the other end. A delicious mushroom farro. Now you can do this without mushrooms, but I've been growing a ton of mushrooms outside, and they're just fruiting in abundance right now with this wet spring weather. So I'm using some fresh oysters, but any type of mushroom will work for this farro dish. And I'll dice those up nice and small. I'll get them in the rice cooker pot, along with 2 cups of farro. This is some pearled farro. Then I'm gonna use 16 ounces of some kettle and fire beef bone broth. I'll top that with water, a little salt to season. I'm sprinkling in some thyme, which pairs so nicely with those mushrooms. Finally, some butter to make it a little more rich and creamy. And because this farro takes a little longer to cook, I'm gonna set it on the brown rice setting. And there's just something really special when you combine those beefy and mushroomy flavors that just enhances this farro to a completely different level than your basic grain dish. Now week 1 was very warm, so things just exploded in the greenhouse. So for week 2 salad mix, it's the first time I'm bringing together a full mix of homegrown greens. Now, since these greens were just so fresh, and to be honest, I was feeling a little bit lazy, I just chopped them up, I threw them in a bag, and that's my salad green prep for the entire week. And we need that all-purpose sauce to bring it all together. So for week 2, I have a balsamic caper vinaigrette. So to my blender, I'm adding a whole bunch of capers with a little bit of that juice. I've got some fermented garlic honey that I'm adding, which can be easily replaced with just honey and garlic. And all of those adjustments are down below in the free Google Doc. I'll add in some mustard, some fresh herbs. Again, I'm using that trio of parsley, dill, and mint. Then a good bit of that balsamic vinegar, some salt and pepper to season, and I'll blend that up while slowly emulsifying in my olive oil. Now I just want to confirm for week 2, all of the foods that I froze reheat very well. Even this hummus, just throw it in the microwave, add a little water if it's feeling thick, and it's gonna taste perfectly fresh. And week 2 was a bit of the same. Some delicious bowls, some hearty salads. I actually had some leftover tots from my air fryer that I heated up with the fritter to make this delicious bowl right here. And it was good eating all week long. All right, so this is day 14 lunch. Kind of like a leftover special salad. I've got some farro in there, some of the meatballs. And I've been eating these meals for close to a month now because I was recipe testing before I went into filming the video. And I would say just now, like 4 weeks later, I am just getting bored of these flavors. At 2 weeks, I was fine. I was ready for more. So I've just been eating so well for lunch over the last few weeks. And if you wanna follow along with these recipes, remember, free Google Doc below, all the ingredients listed out, all the recipes. And if you want more meal prep ideas, check out this.